There's one. That fish is down pretty deep. I think that might be a bass. Woo-hoo. Oh, it's a big old crappie. I mean a big crappie. Look at that guy. Look at that guy. Isn't that pretty? Wow.
How deep? Was he all the way on the bottom?
And he was pretty close to the bottom. She was. Big old female crappie. Chris and I are fishing a spring type day. Woohoo! Look at that. It's not spring, but it's a spring type day. You know, one of the great things about spring, you look around, everything's still dead. We're beginning to have a few buds show up on the, beginning to have a few buds show up on some of the plum trees, but everything's still dead. The trees haven't started to get anything on them. The grass is still dead. Everything's just dead. But the water temperature is up to 55 degrees. 55 degrees, and it's just so windy today. It's amazing. I mean, the wind is blowing like a banshee now. We're down in behind this mountain, but you get out there on the main side of the lake. You get out there where the wind.
I got one.
You got one? It's just a windy spring day. It's a spring. Oh golly! Look how big that fish is. Oh my goodness! That's a 2.5 pounder. Good lands. Look at the size of that crappie. You better get down there and thumb that one. I don't know if I'd lift that one in. Gee whiz, that's a big crappie. Big old female. Look at the size of that fish. Good gosh. Down there 15, 20 foot deep right on the bottom?
Mm-hmm.
Good land, full of eggs. She is full of eggs. She said, man, I'm happy to get turned back. I thought I was going to go to skillet. If we catch these small ones, we might save them, honey. I don't like to flay them that big. I don't like to flay them over about a pound, really. I like about pound-sized crappie.
You would never know the difference once they were in the plate.
You mean you can't tell the difference between a 2.5 pounder and a 1 pounder?
Nope.
I can tell the difference filleting them. I like to fillet the. Really like them about 3/4 pound. That's perfect. There we go. Golly, I can't believe the size of these fish. Look at the size of that crappie. My goodness. That is some big crappie there, sports fans. Woo-hoo-hoo. That is some big crappie right there. I've got on 8-pound test fluorocarbon. You talk about full of eggs. These fish are down 15, 20 foot deep, but look at the belly on that crappie. She's got a big old belly on her. She's full of eggs. Go down there and make me some more crappie. A bunch of them little baby crappie. Man, I got on 8-pound test fluorocarbon line. Got a fish?
Got one.
What you do back there and get in my honey hole?
Yeah, you keep going round and round trying to confuse me.
Golly. Well, I tell you what, it seems like yours are running larger than mine for some reason.
You mean you noticed that?
I've noticed that. What color you got on?
Same as yours.
Huh?
Same as yours.
Solid white?
Mm-hmm.
That's an old-fashioned.
Kind of a skinny
an
mini
old-fashioned
here.
color. You talking about me?
No.
No, that's a male. Us males are kind of skinny. Look at the size of that fish. I can't get over how big they are. That one's down deep. Look at him. You bring them up from that deep. You know, one of the things you bring them up from that deep, you got to watch and make sure that if you're going to turn them loose like we're doing, is check and make sure that their jaws don't lock up. See that right there? And also look down their throat. Make sure that their stomach's not coming out, because sometimes when you catch them in really deep water, right? Let's see, he went back, yeah. Sometimes they have a difficult time. Now, he's having a hard time. I might have to keep that fish. He says, I don't think so. You ain't gonna have to keep this fish. I'm leaving, pal. Depth is a critical deal, and once you get down past about 15 feet to 17 feet on crappie and you bring them back up, if you're going to turn them loose, and we turn these great big giant ones loose, I just don't like to clean great big crappie. I like to clean smaller ones. But if you're going to turn them loose, you know, sometimes you have to you know, use a needle and let a little air out of them where they can go back down. Or just, you know, you just have to keep them, you know, sometimes because if their jaws lock up, or if you look down their throat and if you see actually their belly's kind of coming back out their throat. those fish aren't going to make it. They're going to die. So you just as well go ahead and keep them, even if they are 2-pounders. It doesn't make any difference. Depth is a critical thing in crappie fishing. That's one of the most important things you can do is figure out how deep the crappie are. We talk about that all the time in vertically fishing for crappie, but it's exactly the same when you're casting like Chris and I are doing here today. You know, once you figure out the depth, then it becomes relatively easy to catch them. Now, they will move in the water column throughout the day. Sometimes they'll be shallower, sometimes deeper, so you kind of have to, you know, be aware of that. But if you find them 10 foot deep, probably going to be a lot of them 10 foot deep. If you find them 5, probably going to be a lot of them 5. Find them down 20, most of them are probably going to be down 20. That's just the way that the crappie are. So once you figure out the depth, and that's what you're always looking at when you catch a crappie, if you notice the first one that I caught, Chris, the first thing she asked me was how deep it was. That's the most important thing. How deep is it? Boy, it was a big old fish you had there. Yeah, I think I got one of yours here, honey. You want to come ride this one in?
Spot, didn't you?
Huh? Yeah, I got in your
my
spot.
spot,
Absolutely. God, those are some giant fish. I'm not going to have any for supper catching this big ever. Oh, I'm catching the big giant females. You're catching them little old skinny males. Look at the size of that fish and the size of that belly. I like it when their belly pooches out like that. I love it. I love it. I love it. I want some more of it. Woo-hoo. Man, oh man, oh man. Chris and I are both fishing with our new Life is Good Today high-tech extreme performance rods, and this is the best rod that we make right here. I mean, this is a 80 million modulus graphite, linear graphite, extremely good rod, and it's still, even though it's the best graphite you can get, all the best components you can get, the rod still sells for under $100. And I'll hold your spot for you so you'll remember where it is.
Thank you very much.
That was in a lot shallower than we caught him earlier.
I don't think that's too shallow up there.
I mean, he might have been deep, but I don't think he's quite as deep as they have been. Still a big one, though, isn't he? Good lands.
Pretty good one.
Yeah, it's a real big one. Boy, we have caught some hogs, I'm telling you. We're not catching many, but what we're catching is giants. Whoa! That's a crappie. It's the biggest, a world record crappie. Oh, yeah. Look at my Roadrunner's gone. I mean, it is gone. You can't even see it. That's something. Come here, baby.
Supposed to be catching crappie.
Come here, baby. I know we're supposed to be catching crappie. I can't help what bites. I'm a bass fisherman, man. What are you talking about? I'm a bass fishing dude. Come here. Now I can see the Roadrunner. A minute ago, it was completely down his throat. Now it's right hooked perfectly. It's down a little bit. That's a male fish there. That's a pretty nice one now. Goodbye. Boy, I tell you, you got to be careful getting your rods down underneath those cleats like that. Pick them up like that. Boom, break your really good rod right there like that. When you're fishing a spinning reel, you want to get in the habit of closing that by hand. Get in the habit of doing that every single time. When it's open, don't turn your handle like that to close it open. Reach over and close it by hand. Get in the habit of looking down every time you do it, where you make sure you don't have a little pigtail or any loose line in there. But it's one of the very best habits you can get into when you're fishing a spinning reel, is when you throw that thing out there, just get in the habit of reaching over there like this, closing that, making sure there's no loose line, no pigtails. That'll take away just about all the problems you'll ever have with spinning reels. It makes a huge, huge difference.
Got one.
You got another one?
Got another one.
Doggone it. Same spot. I scraped every piece of bark off of that stump right there, and I never get a bite, and you throw it right in there and catch another one.
Told you they wanted chartreuse.
Huh? Well, I guess.
They wanted chartreuse. I appreciate you loaning me your rod.
Yeah, I gave you my camo rod. That's you're sneaking up on them with that camo rod and reel. That's the deal.
This is the biggest one of the day.
Size of that one. Holy moly. Holy cow, look at the size of that one. Ha ha ha, I got one too.
Oh, you do?
Whoa! Mine thinks he's a bass. Mine's a pretty big one, and yours will eat this one. That's a big old fish right there. He's not near That fish, look how big that fish is. And that's like half the size of what she just caught.
We could almost eat that one.
Oops,
I don't guess we
too late.
can. Huh? You done drifted in here on top of the
fish
fish.
is saying, where'd you find that woman? Talk about almost eat that one. Where'd you find that girl? Oh, that's a bass. Not a big old bass. Pretty nice though. One of the reasons I was really sure that was a bass is he was just there all of a sudden. I never did feel any thump or anything. He was just there, and that's a healthy little fish. There's nothing wrong with him. He's just not a giant. Pretty little girl though. Yeah. Golly. That's fun.
Looked like fun.
That's fun, baby. Boy, that bait was right on the bottom though, down there. We're in about 15 foot of water. You're into those little ones, don't you? That's a crappie there, isn't it?
Crappie.
Yep. A small crappie. You're not used to catching them that size, are you?
No.
A small crappie. If you kept that one, I was going to clean it for
Yeah. I started asking. I thought, oh, he's not going to clean just one. I'll probably throw back out there and catch another one.
I got one.
Good.
I got one. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo. That's a big one. Whoa, look at that guy go. That crappie thinks he's Goliath. That crappie's a bass. That's the reason he thinks that. Ooh, that's a pretty nice little bass. Whee! They love to spin around like that. They like that a lot. Right, booger bear. I thought my crappie was a real big one there, but it was just a bass. He was in pretty close though. Here later in the evening, it seems like a lot of those fish are moving in closer, aren't they? Another one?
Some little something.
What is that
Crappie. When your crappie you were seeing
I
swimming
saw
along.
those crappie swim by there. That was one of them. That's what size they were. Sure enough, that's exactly what size they were. That's a good eating size crappie right there.
Well, we haven't kept any others though.
This is probably a bass I got. It is a bass. Look at how fat that little girl is, will you? She got some eggs in her, doesn't she? You are a pretty little girl, you are. Now she's gonna grow up and be a big mama, I'm telling you. She will grow up and be a big mammy jammer. That girl will. Ooh, that's a nice crappie. That's a pretty one. You know, Chris, we finally, you know, we're getting in some of this shallower area. This is kind of strange. We're getting in a shallower area and we're catching crappie that are about a pound. We was over there down really deep and we was catching all those crappie that were like 2.5 pounds. That's a nice crappie right there. But it's not anything like what we was catching earlier. And we're catching a lot of these fish around 8 or 10 foot deep, and probably around 8 foot deep. We're catching those other fish around 15. Twice as deep, twice as big. Yeah, that's it.